guys, it's Kayla and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things emo scene and everything between. Today I'm back and I'm talking to you guys a little bit about how being emo or scene has changed a lot since TikTok and what the difference is between being an OG emo or an OG scene person versus a TikTok emo or a TikTok scene person. I feel like you see a lot of discussion on the internet about what it means to be a TikTok emo, and I just want to talk to you guys a little bit about what that is and what it is to be an OG emo and how things have definitely changed since TikTok has come about and people have found and discovered emo through TikTok. But yeah, let's talk about it. It's safe to say that I have definitely been emo way longer than TikTok has even been a thing. I was emo well before any of that ever became a thing. Really, honestly, before Snapchat, before all of it, before like Vine, anything. If you remember Vine, like any of that. I definitely was in middle school, like back when it was just more like Facebook and MySpace was kind of phasing out, if you feel me. And that was when the beginning of my emo scene phase really started, was like the beginning of middle school, like end of elementary school, beginning of middle school. That's when Facebook really started to come about and MySpace was slowly fading away. So that's where I am in the spectrum of social media versus my discovery of being emo or scene. And I really didn't have a lot of resources on the internet for how I discovered the style. I did discover it through social media, obviously, but a lot of what I learned about being emo and scene had to do with the people that I became friends with and ultimately just through school and stuff. Like I hung out with people that were also alternative and interested in this style. We would see different things on the internet and try different things out, and ultimately it just became like a culture that I experienced in real life in real time, which is very rare because a lot of people only experience it through the internet and only have alternative friends through the internet. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's often how a lot of people that are on TikTok find emo and scene culture and want to become emo and scene, and so they begin dressing that way, but they don't really have that same community or connections that maybe I had when I was growing up. And so that is one big difference that I feel like you will see between OG emo and scene people and people that are on TikTok, is that it's coming from a place of actual community where you live in real life in real time and not from the internet by itself, if you feel me. When I was growing up, being emo was very much focused on the music, and the fashion was also heavily inspired by musicians. A lot of times we would take inspiration from our favorite artists and bands, and that would be a way that we would invent our style. And then also we had very few stores that we were able to shop at, such as like Hot Topic, for instance, being the only store in the mall at the time that really had like alternative clothing. And so this is really the only stuff that we had, whereas on TikTok now and today, when people are becoming emo and scene, there's a lot more like resources as far as shops and places that you can go to. People make their own clothing, and there's like a lot of small businesses out there making their own alternative clothing that you can choose from, and all of that is great. There's nothing wrong with that at all, but it definitely is different because we didn't have access to those resources whenever I first started becoming emo and scene. And it is interesting to see the way that it changes. It's a lot more easily accessible to become emo nowadays. Back then, if you wanted to be emo, you had to like search for these things, you know? It was something that was highly coveted. You had to go to the shows to get the band shirts. It was really hard to find merch online. I mean, you could, but it just wasn't as popular as it is today. So I feel like you definitely didn't have as many options back then, and it really was like reliant on your friends or the opportunities or going to events like Warped Tour or concerts, for instance, to be able to get those things and be able to have the style that you wanted to have or be inspired by the artists to dress a certain type of way. Whereas now you can just kind of open your phone and see all kinds of people that dress like that or dress the way that you want to dress and take inspiration from them almost immediately. And they also link the clothing that they have, link the shops that they shop at, link all of the information below, so you can literally go and buy the things that they have. Whereas we would just kind of have to guess, like, okay, where did this person on stage get that shirt or those pants? Like, we'd have to take guesses. I go back to music being a big part of it because I feel like today you can see a separation between people on TikTok being more influenced by the fashion of looking emo and scene more than they are the music of it. And so you can definitely tell the difference in that. I think it comes from a special place when it comes from the music. I think that it is a different type of emo to also fall in line with the music and enjoy that as well. I think it definitely creates a different type of it. But you also see different types of emos in the different ways that we are like gravitating towards social media. A MySpace emo versus a Tumblr emo versus an Instagram or TikTok emo now, it's all very different, and the way that it shows up online is also very different. There's similarities in style and interests, but but the way that we come about and the stuff that we partake in as far as the culture, very, very different. Something that someone would have experienced having grown up and used and become like emo and seen through MySpace is going to be so different from somebody on TikTok who's like discovering it and then buying things through like TikTok Shop to become emo and seen. Whole different experiences. That's not to negate those experiences though. Obviously you can't help that MySpace isn't really a thing anymore. It's not like you want to use TikTok Shop, but I mean, it's there and you know how to use it, and someone links something that you like, might as well. I understand why people do things the way that they do and the way that TikTok emo has really come about. But I will say that it does get a lot of hate because of the fact that it is so easily accessible for you to become emo. And it leads to a lot of people who aren't truly in this or aren't truly a part of the culture or are not truly like actually emo and scene people to just kind of like put it on and wear it as like a costume, or maybe have a phase where they dress like it for a year and then never again. And it does create a little bit of a problem when it comes to that, because those are people that are not like truly a part of the community. And it's totally okay if you try it out and you decide it's not for you, but it's definitely interesting to see the way that there's like more of that when it's coming from TikTok, because it's so widespread. It's so accessible. Everybody sees it. And it's just something where you can totally become emo and seen just by shopping through the people that are creators online, which is great. But at the same time, if you're not actually emo and seen, then it just creates a lot of people dressing a certain type of way, but they're not actually that type of person. It doesn't align with who they are and their beliefs. I guess a really big question is, why does it matter? Like an OG emo scene person, like a MySpace emo, someone back in the day emo versus now. Why does it matter that there's a difference? And I would say that it has a lot to do in the differences in the way that we shop and in the way that we think. I feel like back then, whenever you were emo, it was a lifestyle that you were experiencing, and while you were putting it on social media, I definitely feel like we weren't documenting ourselves the way that we do today on social media. So I think that there's a lot more motivation for people to be emo and seen, so that way they can get attention on the internet, and I think that that's always been a thing. Especially back then. I definitely feel like even when people were on MySpace, it was always for attention. But I think that it's a lot more so today because TikTok is so much more widespread than MySpace. So I will say that there is that. There's also the way that we shop now. TikTok has made such different fast fashion companies available to you, and so sometimes you're supporting different companies that aren't necessarily great and purchasing products that are not necessarily good for the environment. I feel like, of course, back then there was always going to be products that weren't necessarily great for the environment, but I don't think you saw as much fast fashion, and I feel like the products that people were getting back then were ones that they actually used and wore and actually were getting a life out of. A lot of times you see people online and they get clothing and stuff, they wear it one time and you never see it again. At least donate the stuff. I feel like that's always a big thing, but I feel like you never really know with people that are on TikTok. Ultimately, the values are different. It comes from a different place, and you never know if the person behind the screen is actually living this lifestyle or if it's just a costume that they put on for social media. And so that is really where you have to kind of like look into the creators that you support and the people that you support online or take inspiration from, and see where they're coming from as far as on that spectrum of like being an OG emo or somebody that is an OG emo at heart, versus someone that is just taking it from social media and wearing it like a costume but doesn't really care about the values or the music or the people or the community at all. So really it's more of like being careful about who you're supporting and also the way that you go about it on your own journey. Make sure that you're not supporting fast fashion as much, and also make sure that this is coming from a good place. Are you dressing this way because you genuinely want to be emo seen, or are you dressing this way because you want attention and likes and follows on the internet? You never know. Anyways, I leave this as a debate for you all. Let me know what you think. I'm dying to know. I just wanted to bring this up and kind of put out my thoughts or my perspective of it, but I'd love for you guys to share your opinions. I really, really do want to kind of start a discussion and get a little bit of feedback. So feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you like videos like this, make sure that you subscribe to my channel and turn on that notification bell so you know exactly when I post. Also, make sure that you leave a like on this video and comment below. Like I said, giving me your feedback or your thoughts on the subject. I definitely would love to hear. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and skedaddle. Remember to stay safe, make good choices, and remember that you're awesome. I love you guys. Mwah. Bye.